The morning sun reflected off the glass walls of Pierce Aviation, one of the most prestigious private air companies in the United States. Inside its largest hangar sat a $120 million private jet, sleek, elegant, and utterly silent. The plane belonged to Evelyn Pierce, a powerful billionaire known across the country for her fierce intelligence and sharp business instincts. But today, her confidence was being tested. The jet, her prized possession, scheduled to fly to New York for a global business summit, was dead. Every light, every system, every engine refused to respond. She had called in the best engineers from across the state, aerospace technicians, software experts, even ex-military mechanics. Yet none of them could find the issue. It was supposed to be an easy diagnostic. Instead, it had turned into a $2 million headache. Evelyn stood by the hangar doors, arms crossed, her expression cold. 3 days, she muttered. 3 days, and all I'm getting are excuses. Her chief engineer hesitated. Ma'am, we've checked every power unit, every circuit. It's something deeper. Maybe a software corruption. Then fix it, she snapped, but the engineer only looked down, ashamed. The truth was clear. They were out of ideas. And that's when a voice came from the corner of the hangar. Quiet, calm, but full of confidence. Maybe it's not software, the man said. Everyone turned. Standing by the doorway was Jack Miller, a local mechanic from a small auto shop just outside Houston. His boots were worn, his jacket stained with years of grease, and his eyes carried the kind of tiredness that only single fathers know. He wasn't part of the official team. He wasn't even invited. He had been called in by a desperate junior engineer who'd once worked with him years ago. Evelyn frowned. And who exactly are you? Jack Miller, ma'am, mechanic. Heard you've got a machine that doesn't want to fly. A few people snickered quietly. The idea that a garage mechanic, someone who fixed pickup trucks, could repair a multi-million-dollar aircraft was laughable. But Jack didn't flinch. He just placed his small toolbox on the floor and started walking slowly around the jet, his fingers brushing the surface like a doctor feeling for a pulse. What are you doing? Evelyn demanded. Listening, he said softly. Machines talk if you let them. He knelt beside a panel near the left wing, feeling for heat, vibration, any sign of current. His mind worked like clockwork, calm, logical, and quietly brilliant. Every creak, every click told him something. Years of experience had trained his instincts beyond what textbooks could teach. Behind him, engineers exchanged skeptical glances. Evelyn crossed her arms tighter. You have 10 minutes, Mr. Miller. Then you're out. Jack nodded once and got to work. The hangar filled with the sound of a single ratchet clicking. The Billionaire's team watched as Jack carefully opened an access panel beneath the jet's power system. Inside was a network of wires and relays, flawless at first glance, yet Jack's trained eye caught something off. He muttered to himself, grounding wire. Looks clean, but he tugged gently and a spark flickered. A tiny fracture in a connector, something so small it would have gone unnoticed even by advanced scanners. It was a flaw that had shut down the entire energy flow to the jet's main systems. Jack reached into his toolbox, pulled out a small soldering pen and a length of copper filament, and began working. His hands moved fast, steady, the movements of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. Minutes passed. Evelyn watched silently, her annoyance turning into curiosity. Finally, Jack reconnected the panel, stepped back, and looked toward one of the engineers. Try it now. The man hesitated. You actually think, try it, Jack said again. The engineer flipped the switch. At first, nothing happened. Then, a deep mechanical hum filled the hangar. The jet's engines roared to life, its lights blinking back like the heartbeat of something reborn. The silence that followed was electric. The team stared, stunned. Evelyn's lips parted in disbelief. 3 days of failure, solved in 15 minutes by a man who fixed cars for a living. Jack simply wiped his hands on a rag and said, It looks like she just needed a little attention. Evelyn approached, heels echoing against the hangar floor. How did you see that? Jack smiled faintly. You'd be surprised what you notice when you can't afford to fail. I've been fixing engines since I was 16. Airplanes, trucks, doesn't matter. Machines have hearts too. You just have to listen. For the first time all day, Evelyn Pierce didn't have a comeback. A few of her engineers gathered around Jack, bombarding him with questions. How did he spot it? What tool did he use? What technique? But Jack didn't answer much. He wasn't there for glory. He was there because his daughter needed her medication paid for, and this quick job would help. Evelyn noticed the photo in his wallet when he bent down to pick up a wrench. A little girl, smiling, missing a front tooth. "You have a daughter?" she asked. "Yeah," he said softly. 8 years old. "Smartest kid I know. She wants to build rockets someday." There was pride in his eyes, but also fatigue. The kind that comes from balancing two worlds, being a parent and a provider. Evelyn looked at the man standing before her, clothes torn, hands rough, heart unbreakable. She had built her empire on numbers and contracts, but this man had just reminded her what true value looked like. As Jack started packing up his tools, she stopped him. "Mr. Miller, what do I owe you?" he paused. "Whatever's fair, ma'am." She glanced at the roaring jet, then at him. "You just saved a $120 million plane. I'd say that's worth more than fair." But Jack shook his head. "I didn't do it for the money. I did it because that's what I do. I fix what's broken." Evelyn Pierce, one of the toughest businesswomen in America, was silent for a long moment. Then, with something close to respect in her tone, she said, "Mr. Miller, I think we'll be seeing each other again." Jack smiled faintly, nodded, and walked out into the sunlight, his shadow long across the tarmac, his name already being whispered among the Billionaire's staff. Outside, he called his daughter. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, smiling for the first time in days. "Daddy's on his way home. Did you fix it, Daddy?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "Fixed more than just a jet today." As he drove away, the billionaire watched from the hangar doors, realizing she had just met a man the world had overlooked, and a story that was only beginning. 3 days had passed since Jack Miller fixed the billionaire's jet, and life in his small Texas town had gone back to its quiet rhythm. The morning air smelled of oil, metal, and coffee. The scent of his little garage. Jack wiped the grease from his hands and looked around at his world. An old Ford truck on the lift, a couple of half-repaired engines, and a dusty radio playing country songs. It wasn't much, but it was his. And more importantly, it was home for him and his daughter. Lily. She sat at the workbench beside him, her hair tied in a messy ponytail, sketching something in her notebook. When Jack leaned over to see, he smiled. "Still drawing engines, huh?" "Yup," she said proudly. "But this one's gonna fly," he chuckled softly. "A flying truck? You might just build that one day, kiddo." Lily grinned. "You think so?" "Yeah, no, so," he said, tapping her nose with a smudge of oil. It was a simple life. Long days, small paychecks, but a lot of love. Jack had promised his late wife that Lily would never have to feel small because of where they came from. And he intended to keep that promise. He had no idea that at that very moment, a black limousine was turning down the dirt road toward their garage. The car stopped outside the small shop, its tires crunching over gravel. Out stepped Evelyn Pierce, dressed not in her usual corporate armor, but in jeans and a leather jacket. Her assistant tried to follow, but she raised a hand. "I'll handle this myself." Jack looked up, surprised, as the billionaire walked in. For a moment he thought he was imagining things. "Ms. Pierce?" he said, blinking. "You lost or something?" She smiled faintly. "Not quite. You fixed something that my entire team couldn't. I figured I owed you a visit." Jack laughed awkwardly, scratching the back of his neck. "Ma'am, you don't owe me anything. Just doing my job." "I don't think you understand," she said, glancing around the garage. "You saved me from canceling a $200 million contract." "That's not just a job." Lily peeked from behind the workbench, eyes wide. Evelyn's sharp demeanor softened when she saw the little girl. "And who's this?" "My boss," Jack said jokingly. "She keeps me working straight." Lily giggled. "I'm Lily." Evelyn crouched down with a smile. "Nice to meet you, Lily. You like engines too?" "I love them," she said excitedly, flipping open her notebook. "Look, I designed a plane that can land on water and drive on roads." Evelyn's eyebrows lifted in genuine surprise. The little sketch was rough, but the concept was brilliant. Aerodynamic wings folding over a lightweight frame. "You came up with this yourself?" Evelyn asked. Lily nodded proudly. "Dad says everything can work if you listen to it long enough." Evelyn turned to Jack, smiling softly. "He's right." They spent a while talking about machines, dreams, and the strange way life sometimes brings people together. When Evelyn walked around the garage, she saw the truth of Jack's world. Rusted tools, a broken heater, a tiny office with old invoices stacked high. Yet every part of it breathed purpose. Jack's work wasn't fancy, but it was real. Finally, Evelyn turned back to him. "Mr. Miller, how would you like to come work for me?" Jack blinked. "Excuse me? I'm serious. I'm putting together a new research division, private innovation, hybrid engines, SU.